How about we treat buyers like adults, give them all the information that they need in order to self qualify?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Quickfire Marketing. I'm your host, E.T. Mack. Very special guest today, Tas like SaaS, founder of Delphinium Solutions. Welcome, Tas. How are you?
Wonderful. So happy to be here.
So, Tas, you just started your own gig. How did you land on landing pages and focus on paid ads?
So I started my career in-house, wanted to be a journalist. That didn't work out. Went into digital marketing, fell in love with real-time numbers. Shout out to Chartbeat, the OG. Pursued a career in B2B digital marketing, stayed there for like 15 years, led a few teams, zero intentions of going out on my own. Started posting on LinkedIn April of last year, more as a creative exercise. People started reaching out for work and consulting. Then decided to go all in with Delphinium. My side hustle became my main hustle. And I started out like fractional head of digital. I got people from my network kind of reaching out. But somebody on LinkedIn said, you need to niche down. You need to solve a specific problem, and you'll start getting a lot more inbound stuff. And I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? That day, I changed everything. I changed my profile. I changed my website. I was like, well, I have all this website experience and all this digital experience. I'm going to marry the two. It just kind of took off after that. Now I'm actually thinking about niching down even further.
So, times are changing. The more things change, the more they stay the same. If we think about that quote, what's kind of stayed the same for you?
We're having this full circle moment in B2B where we've complicated this so much that we need to uncomplicate it in order to sell appropriately. And that is to be extremely clear on the messaging and actually do talk about the product. How about we treat buyers like adults, give them all the information that they need in order to self qualify versus this little cat and mouse game where you're trying to bait them with a piece of cheese and then the cheese is never as satisfying. That's a lot of what my content centered around, is like trying to be the buyer's advocate. There's a lot of like, I'm interested. I've collected this information. I need to go get approval from my boss to pursue it. Now I'm going to sign up for a demo because I'm ready on the main website. And somewhere someone's saying RIP to this campaign because it didn't work. That's not entirely true. We need to look at it as a signal and look at the overall lift of the website as well from paid ads implementation.
The landing page probably has to have more context as well. Sometimes you get to a landing page and it still feels like just a flyer and maybe not enough information to bring them in.
I think the first step is B2B companies try to talk too much about themselves. Here are all the awards we've won. Here's our G2 badge. Everybody has a G2 badge and all of these things. So instead, being a buyer's advocate by talking about the product, telling them you understand the problem, not agitating the pain. You can do a lot of psychological, emotional play with them, but it just makes them more miserable because they still have to jump through a lot of hoops to get approvals. I like to tell them that I understand the problem. We see the gap in the market and we're solving that gap. And this is what makes us different and why we are best suited to solve that gap. Then being very clear about pricing, which is a battle for some sales-led type companies. But in the absence of that, you can still give them a lot of information to allow them to understand what they can expect. And that actually inevitably builds trust and then creates less work for your salespeople to have to qualify everybody.
Going back to your other point, we're not judging things based on conversion rates anymore. Does there need to be an update to the funnel then? New metrics?
I don't think that we need new metrics. We need to understand where to look and how to group them categorically in order for us to read the signals correctly and then make decisions based on those signals. So I look at metrics in two buckets. One is consumption, and the consumption piece, that's your on-page metrics, right? Are people coming to the landing page? Are they the right accounts? Are they the right types of people? Is that really our ICP? So a lot of that's controlled by the distribution channel. So you're targeting your ads. You can control a lot more of that. You're looking at how they're consuming information on the page. Heat map data, session recording. One of the biggest indicators, which like people are like, oh, I haven't thought about that metric in a long time, is I look at then conversions, sure, on the page, but I also look at conversions or hand raisers, right, on the overall website. People have come to your landing page, they've gathered information, they leave. Maybe they meet with their boss next week to get approvals to move forward with discovery. They come back, they can't find your landing page. So what do? They come back to your main website, they go to the get a demo or book a meeting page, and then they book a meeting there. So I always look at what's the overall lift on the website since we implemented the paid ads program. I think a lot of quote unquote CRO tactics, and as the landing page person, I position heavily against CRO because like you're not going to urge them to buy sooner than they're ready. And even if you
Yeah.
can, you're just going to fill up your CRM with low intent leads. They might even be the right ICP, but if they're not there, they're not there. So you can entice them all you want. We need to move away from like gating information. We want that to work because that's just like, yay, look at all these dashboards lighting up with hope. It's like a Christmas tree and I'm getting this dopamine hit. The problem
Yeah.
is that down the line, it's not converting into revenue. Who's to blame? It's the marketer. That's the reason why there's sales and marketing misalignment.
What if you're like a small growing company and you do need to show some revenue while that story's building up?
I don't think necessarily that it's a matter of like whether you're small or big. You're a new player, you're trying to come in and dominate in the CRM market. You're not going to compete against Salesforce, right? So your best chance then comes down to owning a small segment that Salesforce is never going to go after. Trying to niche down and be very specific, you still can position yourself differently, even if you are in a competitive market, and create some va-va-voom factor that's just for yourself without having to like compete for that larger narrative of I want to serve everybody. You got to find your early adopters and the early majority. You got to find a segment that you dominate and you just become known for that. Then you start moving into other spaces. I think there's like a progression that needs to happen. It's just when you come out as a small guy and you're trying to punch above your weight class, like you're not going to be
Yeah.
in the same ring. You kind of got to make your way up, you know?
Focus on what you can focus on. Like people will try to do too much. And the CRO thing is like, hey, let's flood everything with volume.
Another mistake I see is everybody's trying to move up market. The market's really tough. Everyone's like, okay, I'm going to sell to enterprise. That's going to solve all my problems because the deals are going to be larger. I'm going to make a lot more money. You shouldn't ignore your best fit customers today. Who's actually putting money in your pocket? I always tell people, I'm like, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You got to keep serving them too as you expand.
It's always the early stage startups. They're trying to land the big deals to impress the investors and the board. If they do the small, medium deals, the board's like, can we get some cool names so you can give you another round of funding? They go for that and then they don't get it. And then it's like, have you done any business at all?
Yeah, but the problem is people get laid off over stuff like that. They have to trim the fat. Now they're working with less resources than they were before.
So now that you have your own team, your own company, you're working with all these companies, consulting is going to be a big future for go to market, right? How are you going to work with all these different consultants? And what are the expectations of someone that's in house?
When I was in house, I was very focused on being like a deep generalist. I was like, this is great. Being on my own, I learned very quickly that I have far more value solving a specific problem for a specific segment. That actually helps the in house generalist who's trying to keep everything together to say, yes, I have that problem. This person's going to help me check that off my list. So I'm going to get a deliverable that's going to check it off the list. And I'm going to get whatever strategic value there is to that. When I talk about paid ads landing pages, people think, oh, landing pages. And then they think CRO. Well, I can refer you to like 10,000 conversion rate optimization specialists on LinkedIn. But what I'm doing is a little bit different because we're going to use these landing pages that are always on. You never have to turn them off. You're going to massage them over time. The whole value is that you get a sandbox to play in and test website messaging before you put it on your main website that you have to take through like tons of approvals. When you're internal, it's just finding someone who can give you value beyond a checkbox.
Well, sweet. Tas, thank you so much for your time. You can find us wherever podcasts are found, and Tas will have our LinkedIn up as well. Any final
Thank
words?
you. I'm going to start a little YouTube thing. I have a resource hub that's completely free. You can get it on my profile. It has all landing page, website, content. And I also put pods on there. So whenever this is live, it'll be part of the resource hub. And yeah, go check it out.
When I reminisce, I automatically think of the Motorola Razr, the best phone of all
Oh,
time. Yes. But
yes.
I also would
Mine.
never use that phone ever again.
I mean, I
Right.
would never use it. Okay. So I didn't have a Razor, but I had a Nokia 3310.
Yes.
and it
Playing
was the
Snake.
love of my life. Okay.